Hi, everybody. I'm Jeffrey Driscoll.
And I'm Jim Kerr.
And welcome to a no NHL lockout episode of 15 Minutes of Fame.
Woo!
Well, I guess, Jim, what should we talk about today? There's nothing really going on, but okay, I guess the NHL lockout is over after 113 days. Tell me what happened and tell me, are you happy?
Okay, well, well documented here on the show,
Yes.
Of course. There's not much else we talked about over the last 113 days. But
Yes.
The PA, they voted to allow possible decertification. They decided not to do it. It was a bit of back and forth between the two sides. Then it looked like the PA was going to go ahead and try it again because they voted again to allow the option to decertify. I think at that point, the two sides really got down to it. TSN had a good breakdown of some of the key points of this new tentative agreement, which, of course, still has to be ratified by both sides, but I assume it will be. 50-50 split of HRR over the 10 years of the CBA with an opt-out after 8. And we're going to get to this in a minute, but you'll notice some things in this list that we've heard already.
That's right.
So we'll talk about why that's maybe important in a little bit here. Cap of $64.3 million in year 2 rather than the 60 that the NHL wanted. So a bit of a
Yeah,
we'll talk about we'll talk about winning and losing
we'll
as well
talk about that in a
right
bit.
away here. Teams can spend up to 70 this year because, of course, you can't expect teams to just start shedding millions of dollars in this tight time frame right now.
Right.
2 amnesty buyouts. That's an interesting one.
That is.
I'd cough and say a name, but there's any number that we could be doing for here.
You'd cough, and mention a name? I'm sorry, I didn't quite hear that right. Okay, good.
We're going bowling later? Bowling?
We're going exactly.
All right, so we got salaries can't vary more than 35% year to year. That's in response to some of these ridiculous long contracts with $9 million in the first year, $500,000 down at the end. Yeah, no more than 50% of the highest year in any of the other years. 7-year max contract, 8-year if it's with the same team.
I love that rule.
I'm a fan of that.
Yeah.
Lots of changes that both sides had asked for throughout the process, but the key point there is that both sides had asked for them. So we're seeing some give and some take on either end of this, which is something that we weren't sure we were going to see. So it's nice.
Let's go through a couple of these that we really like here, Jim. Speaking of which, did you know when you got into journalism school that you'd be talking all these numbers? You're like, you basically have to be a finance expert to figure all this stuff out. But, I don't know. Let's talk about the 2 amnesty buyouts right off the bat. It kind of gives 2 get-out-of-jail-free cards for GMs who just maybe made a mistake.
Yeah, and I wonder if that's in response as well to some of these. There's only a few cases of it, but guys making, 4 or 5 mil playing in the AHL.
Right.
The Wade Reddens and that.
Exactly.
I don't know if that would fall into that category, but, it gives GMs and owners a chance to say, like, ugh, our bad.
Yeah, exactly.
And, so that's good. I like that because I think it's been a little bit awkward for teams to get out of these contracts under the current system. So it'll be interesting to see who they use those for. But I know they brought them in the NBA, and I think teams were quite happy with that development.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I don't know who the Edmonton Oilers are going to use it for. I mean, we've got a million people we could, put it that are suspected. But my big thing on the opposite side of that is really what you're doing is you're rewarding failure. You're rewarding bad judgment calls by some would say bad GMs. So that's one side of it. On the other hand, right, as a whole, I think it's going to make it better for the NHL.
It's not really rewarding them because they have to shell out a bunch of money.
Yeah, that's true.
They still have to pay the guy.
That's the owners, that's for sure.
They got to go, okay, now we're going to give up these millions of dollars for nothing now, just to not have you on the team.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk real quick about the 8-year second level contract if you're with the same team.
Yeah, I like the idea of that because, I think that's another NBA thing. Surprise.
Yeah, weird.
That's strange. But I like that option too, where it's, if you want to test the free agent market, you get a year less. And maybe if you're a guy signing a max contract, maybe that's $10 million less than you'd get if you signed with the same team, because you'd be making that in a year.
Exactly.
Or, 8, 7, 6, 8, 9, whatever number it is. It's a big chunk of change that you'd get for staying at the same team, but you wouldn't get if you decide to test the market. So that just adds another level when players are thinking like, do I try and negotiate here, or do I make a move?
Absolutely. I think it's great. I think it's going to really help with competitiveness, especially for teams like Edmonton, although we're doing a little better with that now. But Columbus Blue Jackets, if they're ever going to actually become competitive in this league. So I like it. Well, okay, Jim, how about some of the other stuff? What's the deal with the draft lottery and supplemental discipline now?
Yeah, well, we talked about the draft lottery before. It's an interesting one. The 14 non-playoff teams will be in a weighted draw, but the restriction of how many spots you can move up or down is now gone. So when the New Jersey Devils won the draft lottery a couple years ago, and they could only move up a certain number of spots, that pushed Edmonton into the number 1 pick again. So under this system, the Devils would have that pick.
That's right.
So it's still, the worse off you finish, the better chance you have. Just ask Columbus how that works out.
Exactly.
But so now anyone in that draft lottery can pick first. So that makes it more interesting for those teams and, adds a bit of variety, I guess. So it's not the Oilers every year.
Well, exactly, and you can't help but look at Pittsburgh for a couple of years and the Edmonton the past couple of years, benefiting that. I can't imagine that wasn't used as an example of why it needed to be changed.
Yeah, and as for the supplementary discipline, Brendan Shanahan will still be handling things, but for suspensions of 6 or more games, a neutral third party will come in to handle appeals. So that's an interesting development as well, because I think we see across sports that players aren't generally happy with the commissioner of the league handling appeals.
Yeah, I really like this rule a lot too, and a neutral third party. That'll be interesting to see the first time it's worked out.
Now let's talk about winning and losing, Jeff. I know you've got a bit of an opinion on the question of who won and who lost this 113-day NHL lockout. Go.
I hate the question, Jim, because immediately it happened right off the bat. It was like, hey, everybody, great, wake up this morning. The lockout is over. We're, bunnies and like amazing things popping out everywhere. And then the next question is, okay, who won it, right? Who won, who lost? It makes me angry because I hate to think that people are going into these things and both the NHLPA and the NHL going in and saying, well, I can't make this decision, or I can't give in here, or I can't give in there, because there's a factor in the back of my head saying if I do this, it's going to be perceived as if we lost. That shouldn't be a thing. That shouldn't be a factor. It should be, are we getting hockey this year, or are we not getting hockey this year? And don't get me wrong, I'm not completely naive. It's, are we getting more money, or are we getting less money? Those should be the only two things in the back of their heads. It should be perceived as if we lost or we won, because it's another factor that means that they're not going to make their decision. And you saw that, because like you were talking about, Jim, some of these things were talked about months ago and basically agreed upon months ago. And until it got down to the last couple of seconds, the last couple of minutes, okay, so it didn't go down to the last day, but it was pretty darn close. Those decisions weren't made because they had to hedge their bets so that it didn't look like they lost. The only people who lose here, Jim, the fans.
Yeah, and it's funny. Remember a couple of proposals ago where the NHL gave one out. The PA came back and said, here's a counter one, and the NHL said, that's not what we asked you. We asked yes or no. All our stuff's off the table.
Right.
That's a symbol of the winning and losing mentality,
that's exactly
I think.
Right.
And, I think some of that stuff came back onto the table. But yeah, it's not about, it is about winning or losing, I guess. Yeah. But if you enter into negotiations, that shouldn't be the mentality. I think it was this time, and I think it was too much of that this time. And that's why it took so long. That's why we burned half a season almost. And that's why we are, where we are today, sitting here talking about a, 48 or 50 game season instead of an 82-game season.
Absolutely. I think we could have got this done in the summer, if not the late fall. So it makes me angry.
Yeah.
Anyways, speaking of something that makes me angry, Let's talk World Juniors. Oh, dear God, Jim. Tough game for Canada in the semis, and they leave the World Juniors absolutely empty-handed.
Yeah, for the first time in a long time. I believe 14 years with a medal. I'm going to blame that stupid 2 a.m. start time because I couldn't be there for my boys.
That's right.
I could, but only until maybe the second intermission, intermittently throughout the first 2 periods. And, yeah,
so
the time difference stunk. It's on these shoulders right here.
I understand, and it should be, but
broad, muscly shoulders.
That's right.
All right, bad loss against the United States in the semis. I mean, they came out flat. They had beaten them in the preliminary round. Maybe some bad goals, some sloppy play. They weren't in it. I think the U.S. really wanted to win that game, and of course Canada did as well, but Canada had already beaten them. Maybe they took them a little lightly. Who knows what happened there mentally for the team, but a tough loss sent them to the bronze medal game. Real barn burner between Canada and Russia. A 6-5 overtime loss. That was tough to swallow, but they got out to they got behind early. They managed to come back, but in the end, they fell. So they leave without a medal. That's tough. When you lose the bronze medal, it stings even more because you were supposed to be playing for the gold. So you can't win them all, obviously, and it's not like losing to Russia is a bad thing or losing to the United States is embarrassing because it's not.
No,
they're both hockey powers just as much as Canada is. But I guess congratulations to the U.S. for winning.
There you go.
They kind of called it ahead of time. They said we're the best team in this tournament, and to their credit, they came in and they dismantled Canada after losing to them.
Absolutely.
Yep. If Canada had lost to the U.S., then come back and beat them in the semis, we'd be saying, what an amazing team we are, and we adjusted well, and blah, blah, blah. So I guess we got to give them that. Not happy about it, though.
No, we don't have to be happy about it.
No.
We can accept it, but we don't have to be happy about it. I think you're right, Jim. Well, let's move on to the GABBYs now. These are the good and bad by you. Let's give a good to both the NHL and the NHLPA. I know we've been ragging on them pretty good for a little while. It's been a brutal stretch for hockey fans, but despite all the BS we've had to sit through, they actually came together and got a deal done, admittedly before the season was completely turfed. Yes, it was crappy, but we'll have hockey back in no time, and Gary Bettman still sucks.
Buttman, you almost said it.
I almost did it, right? I almost said it.
All right, still on the subject of hockey, Jeff. How about a good to Alex Ovechkin and his new deal with Gillette?
Yes.
It actually has a clause in it that will give him a bit of flexibility for Movember. Apparently, under his old deal, he had to be clean-shaven all year except the playoffs. Who knew that kind of a sponsorship agreement was so serious?
You don't have any clause like that in your contract for the show, do you, Jim?
Well, I'm not really at liberty to talk about it, to be honest with you. There's some clauses like, there was some give and take. Like, I don't have to wear pants.
Right, you don't have to wear pants. That's good. I actually had to fight hard to make sure that you didn't have to wear pants. That was something that I had to fight hard with my agent.
Yeah, studio gets too hot over
That's
here.
right. I understand. You can only do what you can do, man.
Yeah, like I'll wear a long sleeve shirt, obviously.
Finally, a good to our favorite Jose Canseco, who is just lighting up the internet with all kinds of awesome stuff lately. First off, he says he wants to move to Toronto, become mayor, and play and coach for the Blue Jays for free.
That's about what I would expect they would pay him.
I think that he feels just because he played for the Blue Jays for a little while that he's both a Canadian citizen and can basically run for whatever he wants. I love it. It's great.
Yeah.
He had this to say about the NHL lockout, which was absolutely pure gold. Quote, why is an American suit in New York from the NBA ruining hockey? ? Turn leadership over to the Canadians who love the sport. Attaboy, Jose. Nice work.
Yep, that's good stuff. I was very happy to see that he was going to run for the mayorship of Toronto. That's fantastic. Let's give a bad to the Italian soccer fans that caused a walk-off in a recent friendly between AC Milan and Pro Patria. Milan's Kevin Prince Boateng, who we've had on the show before. I believe he was a guy who was out with an injury that was sex-related.
Yes, that's right.
Which is cool.
Great.
He was being verbally abused by the fans. The ball came to him. He just kicked it up into the stands, decided to walk off, took off his jersey. His team stood by him and also left the pitch. It's got people talking about, racism in soccer and racism in sport, but it's insane that this kind of stuff still happens, honestly.
Yeah, I respect him for walking off the field, especially if it's racial. I think that pro athletes, especially ones who are paid as much as he obviously is, do have to take a little bit of the vitriol. Never ever though racially, like never. Yeah. Never. You're never talking about stuff like that. It's still never.
You
cool.
Suck is one thing.
That's right.
You're brutal. I could go on.
I can't.
I've yelled all kinds of these. It's great. Right. I think about them all day.
Jim used to call it at referees playing hockey all the time.
I'm a dick.
But
all right.
How about a bad to Rory McIlroy? He says he might skip the 2016 Olympics because he's not sure who to play for. So he's from Northern Ireland, so he could play for Ireland because they're in the Olympics, or for Britain. Because he's from Northern Ireland, they are traditionally with Britain when they play in the Olympics. But whatever he chooses, one side is going to be mad at him. So it's too bad that this issue might translate into him skipping out on a chance at a gold medal. So that's going to be interesting.
Yeah, but I think he said like, I could play for one, the other, or just not play. I think he's fine with that. It's not like golf's, the 100-meter dash where.
That's true.
A solid Olympics. Golf's not even in it until then, right?
Until 2016.
Yeah, so...
Hey, let's talk about how a 23-year-old is saying in 4 years, he's like, yeah, I'm going to be on the team. No big deal. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. I mean, if it started today, he absolutely would be.
Absolutely.
But a lot can happen in 4 years, Tiger Woods. And a bad to UNC Greensboro leading scorer, Trevis Simpson. He hurt his ankle while walking through the lobby of a hotel this week. Walking through the lobby of a hotel.
Yep.
That's up there with some of the best ones we've had, Jeff.
Yes.
He stopped because an automatic door swung open, I believe is how I read it. And when he went to start again, heard a pop. That's it. So be careful when you're walking.
Apparently, that's
if
it.
You're a basketball player.
Going to have to start putting that in the contracts that they can only ride scooters wherever they go.
That's right. Yeah, scooters, not segways, because that would be improper benefits.
That's right.
No one can push you because that would be bad. You have to do it yourself.
That's right. Amazing. I'm going to segue into the punchline this week and talk about New York Jets coach Rex Ryan. Love this story, Jim.
Well, this one brightened up my morning the other day, sitting there at work. People love this guy because he's really a walking headline. There's always something going on with him. Either he's flapping his gums or this.
Yes.
He's on vacation right now, or was anyways, and someone snapped a picture of him without his shirt on.
Which is fun anyways.
Fun, yeah, that's good. Turns out he's got a tattoo of his wife on his arm. Now, just a slight bit of background here. Some videos surfaced a while ago involving feet.
Yes.
And his wife, and it was weird. Like, okay, fine, do your thing, man. It's great.
Yeah, whatever.
It was just weird for everyone because the media got it and made us all aware of it.
Exactly.
So I'm not hating on you, Rex, but it was just an uncomfortable thing for all of us to see and know about. So we got a tattoo of his wife. It's fine.
No
nice
problem.
gesture.
Yeah, good.
Hope they stay together. The thing about it though is it's a tattoo of his wife wearing nothing but a Mark Sanchez New York Jets jersey.
I love it.
Now, I mean, who's that more awkward for?
Yeah, I don't know.
Mark Sanchez is sitting there going, "That's my jersey, man."
Yeah,
what? You could it could be any number. You know what? Hey, my wife, number 1. That's what it could say. You're number 1. But no, it's the Mark Sanchez jersey. You wonder why he didn't sit the guy.
Oh, totally.
Didn't want to make his wife look off-brand on his arm. You got why is your wife wearing a backup quarterback's jersey? The New York Daily News made this the front page, entire big picture, everything.
You?
Across the bottom,
was
a headline about 3 New York cops being shot in a night of mayhem.
Yeah.
So that's Small print across the bottom,
yeah.
underneath a giant Rex Ryan.
Brutal.
And they had all these like kinky tattoo, blah, 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 like all these little play on words. Like, it's not like it's something explicit, but
that's the Daily News for you right there. Oh, yeah, brutal.
But I saw that and it's come on, man. Should have been 6/15.
There you go. Exactly.
Mark
well, folks,
Tebow.
I got you. Well, folks, that's our show for this week. Hey, just before I end here, I did call at the beginning of the season. I was like, if they don't get to the Winter Classic, I figured the season would be over. Not only am I admitting that I was wrong, but I'm happy that I was wrong. I'm happy that they have the NHL lockout back. So I just wanted little mea culpa there. Anyways, that's it for this week. Join us again next week when you get a whole new 15 minutes of fame. In the meantime, I'm what's under the Jets jersey on Rex Ryan's arm.
And I'm his back tattoo.
Have a good week, folks. That was fantastic.